Mumbo Jumbo for this. Well, it's kind of probably November by the time you see this. It is still October for me, so I'm enjoying that. The clocks have just gone back. Yeah, they've gone back, so I'm now... I don't know, it's confusing. Clocks say one thing, my body says another. I'm here, which is the most pertinent point. So, it's been a week. I'm exhausted. A lot's been going on. As a quick reprieve of all that, just so you're aware, get in my headspace. Last weekend, I drove down to Devon, which is a good 3 to 4 hour drive for me. Popped down there, the She That Does Not Game and the Little Man, and we went along to Nate's wedding. Nate, who used to be on the podcast when the podcast ran, did some live shows with Nate. He's a wonderful human being. He is my gaming brother from another mother, and I love him dearly with all my heart. He's not been well. He's been battling the big C, fuck cancer, and he's out the underside of some of that. And, you know, that's pretty fucking cool. So him and Rachel got married weekend last. I went along because why wouldn't you? And it was great. Love you, Nate. Love you dearly. Love you all your family. Wonderful. Even Andy Hopwood was there. The lovely, lovely Andy Hopwood. And even his presence was not enough to bring down the event. So we all enjoyed ourselves. So that was good. But yeah, that was great. But that started my week with me quite tired because it was a long day. And then we had house guests this past week. So we had Becky and Stefan all the way over from Texas. House guests with us all week. There's a long story there. I'll get into another point at some point, but She Who Does Not Game knows Becky from about 10 years back when she went over took a year out into Texas. We know each other. They know the family very well. They are kind of like extended family. So they came and stayed with us, which meant that last week was kind of very busy. There was a lot of food. There was a lot of entertainment, lots of talking, lots of stuff. And it was glorious, it was joyful, it was lovely, but I'm very tired now. So that's all been going on in my world, and boy, it has been a roller coaster. So that's bringing you up to speed on all that nonsense. I'm here, jolly good, I have coffee, thank Christ. Shall we dive into some stuff? Why not? Let's do some what I played. Played games. So, quickly, once fresh in my brain, we played the other night was Laws of Vegas, the reprint of Laws of Vegas that Ben picked up. Laws of Vegas is you building casinos. Ta-da! The idea is you are building casinos. Yeah, brain is waiting for the brain to catch up, engage with what goes on in this game. You all kind of play rival casinos. It's kind of like an area control thing to a certain point. What you do is you get pitches appear on the board. So cards are pulled at the start of the game, a deck of cards, and they give you where you put cars, parking lots. So essentially they're areas where you can develop a casino where one of your cars is. You can, as the game progresses, spread into adjoining lots and also rise up, build higher story casinos. Essentially, each of these spots where you build a casino will have a representation of a dice on it, how many pips it is, the pips on the dice, and you all have your own coloured dice. You buy a casino, you buy the casino you want down there, and there's 4 types, maybe 5 types of casinos from cards in the deck. Put your dice on it. When one of those cards is pulled, as the game progresses around the table, it will trigger stuff to happen. So if you own any of those casinos when this card is pulled, then those casinos pay out. They give you money for the pips on them, and if they are of a certain size, they also gain you points, and you gain points around the track. As the game progresses, as you go around the track, you need more points to advance on the track, which is only got by either spreading out your casino or building into adjoining lots or building them up. So the dice, whoever's got the highest dice in a casino is the owner of that casino. And what you can do is either join onto other people's casinos of the same type, and obviously you can rearrange the dice at certain points as an action by paying the money or other things can do. So you've got this kind of cutthroat business of people kind of pushing in on casinos that you run, take over for themselves. And that's kind of it. There's a lot more going on than that, but that, in a nutshell, that's how it works. And it's fun. It's really enjoyable. You can go to other people's casinos and make bets at them and usually lose money, which I did a lot. I think we ended up being, me, Ben and Bob were all joint winners of it. I think Ben won because he had the most money. But yeah, I quite enjoyed that. I hadn't played it for a while. Tony had a copy of the old version of it. It's been polished up, but it isn't like gloriously massively different from the games I played what Tony had. I think other than the base game now plays 6 players, which originally you had to buy an expansion for, and it came with some cards, a little extra card expansion, which kind of just threw in some random shit that went on, which was kind of cool. And that's it. I really like Lords of Vegas, actually. It's quite good fun. I've not played it, as I say, for a while, but actually playing it again, I was like, oh, actually, this is quite good fun. So hopefully it's one we get to the table a few more times. There is some strategy to it. There is some random to it. But there you go. Lords of Vegas. Recommended for this one play. I'm sure it'll be out in retail fairly soon. I think it's only just going out to backers. But nice to have that available again, if that's your jam. And, you know, thematically it works really well with the whole theme of building casinos and stuff. Lovely. Then we played Tiny Laser Heist, which is something Ben backed on Kickstarter and mentioned it a few times. The idea is basically that you are robbing, a building, a museum, say, which is represented by this cube that you build at the start of the game. There's lasers go across this, lasers, which are like string kind of held taut in there, and then there's various gems in there with locks on top of them. And how the game works, at the start of the game is you get some cards. Some of these cards will allow you to interact with locks or do other things within the heist. So someone is the heist leader, and they build a team. And most of the teams we play with 2 players, but I think you can have more than that in there. There is, depending on what you're going to go for and what you're going to rob, depends how many loot cards you get at the end of the game. So the more locks that are on a diamond, if you manage successfully to get all the locks off of it and move them to another lock, and then pick the diamond up and put it into the holder in the centre, depending how many locks you take off is how many loot cards you get. But the tricky proposition is that you're only controlling, you have a stick with a hand on it, and everyone has one stick, one hand. So you're going to have to cooperatively work with your people around the table to pull off this heist in 90 seconds, which is quite tight. There's also cards to allow you to sabotage the people who are playing, which results in some hilarious shenanigans. And generally it's stupid and kind of fun. And that's it really. If you knock one of the lasers off, you bugger the heist up. If you don't manage to get all the diamond moved and everything sorted, you bugger the heist up. And it's generally, we've resulted in not many heists actually going ahead and being won. As you will see here in this video of Robbie, I think, and Rich desperately trying to pull off a heist with all the skill of a not very skilled heist person.
He's in. He's got in! He's got in! That's quite an issue. What am I doing?
I think it's got to go back in through that window.
Yes.
I mean, one of you might be able to chip out of it.
Yeah, use your little subduto skills. Chip it in, Rob. Chip it in. That's it. Get in there.
But, you know, if you mess things up, you've got an extra 30 seconds.
What the fuck are you doing? It's like a demolition derby. Well, you've got 50 seconds. You've got this, boys. No problem.
Robbie's out. Robbie's done.
He's tapped out. He's in. He's in. He was out. He's in again.
I think it's quite impressive because you don't trip the laser.
It is quite.
There's literally one tower standing now. And restack everything before they get in there.
So there's that. That was fun. There's this. ARX. ARX, that has proved to be somewhat of the baby of the hour. A lot of people screaming about ARX, loving ARX. Shut up, sit down, did a video at ARX. ARX. Everyone's talking ARX from Leader Games. designers behind Root, which is a game I respect but not necessarily love. So I own this, so it tells you something. I took a punt on this because the base game is about 45 quid, which is actually a very reasonable offer for what is in this box. There is a lot of game in this little box. ARX has been called a couple of things, like a 4X game, and I suppose there's elements of that. It is like a space battle game of you trading and doing other stuff. It plays out fairly quickly. It has a trick-taking element to it. So you'll have these trick of cards, this hand of cards. There's 4 different suits, and each of the suits allow you to do different things during the game. So one may allow you to be aggressive and fight and do stuff like that. Others allow you to move around the board. Others allow you to, as I say, fight ships. Others allow you to interact with cards off the table. These guild cards you can gain by potting your dudes on, influencing those cards. And whoever's got the most influence, you can later on kind of grab those cards, and having those in front of you kind of give you in some cases kind of game breaking, or they are at least rules that allow you to bend what's going on in the game. There is also, there's a small expansion of Leaders and Lore. In the game comes with some Leaders and Lore cards in the base game, and then you can pick up this if you didn't back the Kickstarter. There's some additional cards and lore and leader cards in there, which is slightly a little bit more advanced, which I've not put them into the base game yet, because for those reasons. Played 3 games of that now. Over a couple of nights, we've played 4 players, a 3-player, I think, a couple of 4 players. I still haven't wrapped my head around really how to play the game. It is a game of you having to pivot at that given time. It's not a game where you can strategize with what you've got in front of you and make some broad, huge strategy, because you are constantly pivoting to what you've got in your hand. And I still really haven't wrapped my head around the best strategy to that yet. Essentially what you're trying to do is win the tricks to a point, because when you're in a trick and when you're leading a trick, you can announce a thing that is now escaping me. An ambition. You announce an ambition, which down the other side of the board are ambitions. There's some for collecting the most resources, one for having the most trophies, which are ships you've blown up, one for having kidnapped dudes off of those lore cards I was on about, and others for collecting other different resources. So you declare an ambition, they are scored at the end of a round, and then everyone kind of piles on. So ideally you're trying to either set yourself up the round before to be in a position to declare an ambition if you can, or if someone declares an ambition, try and get in on that action. But it is fluid. It is a game where there is a lot of fluid stuff going on. You can't really strategize too far ahead. I mean, you can look at your hand of cards, and if you've got higher cards, then they're usually quite handy because it might allow you to kind of take control of that board when you're playing the trick side of stuff. And what happens is the lead trick will go down, and depending on whatever that card is, you have options then. You can either play within that trick if you've got a higher card to beat the card that first went down. You can flip a card over to its blank side and copy, basically just do one action of that trick. Or you can copy is to put a card face down and then just any card and just copy the action. You get one action of the lead card. Pivoting allows you to play a card in a different suit and do one action in that. Essentially what you do is you get pips on the cards, and depending if you're playing within the suit and beating the base card, then you get those actions, all those pips on that card. If not, you're only being limited by 1. It's a lot going on. Considering it's a small box, there is a lot of game in this box, and the Leaders of Lore in there add asynchronous powers to your factions, and I think definitely you always really want to play with them. I think the base game we played 1 game without them in, and we kind of got a feel for it, and then we threw them in, and they just mix things up quite significantly. They give you asynchronous powers against everyone else. They give you some perks and give you sometimes some detrimental effects to it, and you've got to kind of, it gives you something to kind of work with going forward. It is a game that if you want to be able to control it and be really tied down and kind of lock into a strategy, that you're going to hate, because it is constantly a case of pivoting, pivot, to where the wind blows at that point in time. You can't make grand strategies to a point. Though that is dependent on the cards you got in your hand. If you've got lots of high cards in your hand, that does give you a lot more power in regards to what's going on the board and you controlling stuff. So there is the options there. But again, if you don't have the suits that play into what you want to do, that is a problem. Although you then got to pray that other people play cards that you can kind of jump in on. As I say, with the law cards, with the leaders cards, with the other stuff, there is a lot of mitigating bits in there if you've got the right cards at the right time. But it's a very much of a game of playing what's in front of you at that given point and say, pivoting to where the best option is at that point. It's not a game for people who want to, as I say, grand strategize, because you're going to be driven insane by the game because you can't do that. Combat's kind of cool because when you fight, essentially the defender doesn't have any skin in that game. The attacker picks dice from 3 sets of dice. There is the blue dice, which are just these basic sort of conflict dice, which have no hits against your ships and give you like a 1 in 4 chance of hitting theirs. I think that's what it is. Or you can get the red dice, which are a bit more fighty, punchy, but they run the risk that you can get retaliatory strikes against yourself. And then there's the orange dice, which are, I can say loot dice, something like that, which essentially if there's buildings on the areas you're attacking, you can roll those, which give you far more damage to building areas or yourself, but also have keys which allow you to rob stuff off of that other person, depending how many keys you got. Depends what areas they've got stuff locked on their board you can rob. So it's a little kind of mix of stuff. And say you can get really great on the rolls, or you can roll the dice and blow all your own fleet up. That can happen. Again, people are going to lose their shit over that. I can't do anything in a fight. I have no autonomy. Yes, that is true. That is how the game works. Although the dice are factored in such a way, as I say, you can still get your licks in whilst defending. And again, there's law cards. And again, there's leader cards. And there's other stuff which allow you to mitigate against some of this stuff, to give you powers to do different things. In total, I really like this. I'm intrigued by it. I don't yet understand it. I think the last time I played, I came close to winning. If it may even have run, I was like running away with it the first couple of rounds, purely because I'd fallen into a routine of going, well, if I do this, this, and this, I can declare an ambition. Oh, I've got all this good stuff because of my law cards and stuff. Oh, I can just keep doing that. And for about 3 rounds of the 5 rounds of the game, or chapters of the game, I was scoring shitloads of points and no one could come close to me. And then that all changed. Other stuff happened. There you go. There's a lot going on. As I say, there's an awful lot going on. For the price of this game, for about 45 quid, I think I picked it up for, something like that. There's a lot of game in here. There is a lot of game in here. You don't need this, but you can chuck that on top for about 12 quid. I haven't used them yet, but that, if you like what that's doing, I think that's good value for money, because you're going to get a lot of legs out of that game. You could play that and not need to think about anything else for a while. Does it give me the TI4 vibes? To a certain extent. I mean, it plays out, I think, once you know what you're doing with this game. You could whip out games in probably 2 hours, maybe 3 hours, possibly. I think the faster you get it, the quicker you get it, the more way you get your head around this. You could whip through games. It does kind of give you that vibe of the 4X type hit of a game in a shorter playtime. It isn't TI4 by any long stretch of your imagination. It is. As I say, you can't grand strategize. So that, bear that in mind going into it. It is random. There is some limitation to the mitigation you can do with the luck and other stuff in the game. Crazy shit will happen. But I really like the heady mix of stuff it's doing and what it's offering you to. I like the idea that you're having to constantly go, okay, I need to rethink my strategy. I need to kind of switch to this. I need to switch to that, which is kind of cool. But if that's not your jam, then I can imagine it will drive you fucking insane. There is also, obviously, in addition to that, there is a big box semi-expansion. It's a campaign expansion called the Blighted Reach. So I did a thing. Blighted Reach. I had a little bit of back paperwork. And I have no self-control. Blighted Reach, not played it yet, but I have got it here. It's a big box, considering how compact and small the ARX box is. Oh, this is quite a big box, and it's heavy, and it does store all of the base game, which is kind of cool. I'm not going to go massively deeply into this because, as I say, I'll be rambling mostly because I don't know. But you get some trays there for saving the game mid-campaign. You get a little tray that I've got with which all the base game components go into, most of them. And then the board and all that goes into here. And the kind of the beating heart of this game is these huge decks of cards in here, which is all the different... can't think of the name of what they're called now. Things, basically like leaders that you'll pick. Fates, they're called, that's it. And they morph as you play the game, as the longer you play the campaign, over the 3 chapters of the campaign, 3 games of the campaign, those fates morph. If you complete missions with them, there is a deck of cards with all sorts, as you play through them, almost legacy-ish, in that certain cards propagate the game, go into the game, and then there's a card that says stop, and there's different instructions and different stuff to do, and stuff evolves as you play through those. It all sounds very exciting and fascinating. I will try to read the rules and get a game of this in the weekend. But yeah, I have no self-control, as we can see. There we go, Blighted Reach. I will report back fully on that when I can. Sorry. Oh, I don't mean sorry, not sorry. Anyway, there you go. Catch you with the rest of the mics in the video. Bye. But so there's ARX. I do think it's very much a game of you're either going to love it or you're going to fucking hate it. And I don't think there's any middle ground on that. But I quite enjoy that. I think it's really good. And I think the price point on that base game is an absolute steal. If any of that stuff is good for you, because there's a lot of game in that little box, really. And that's where I stand on that. Jolly good. I need to play some more of it, and I will probably pick up the campaign, as I said. Shall we do some news? I think we should, after I have some coffee. Crack on.
Here is the news.
News. So the big breaking news, which came as no surprise to me and probably quite a few other people, was that Mythic Games has declared bankruptcy. Finally, Mythic Games were at one point in time quite a successful publisher of the board games on Kickstarter. I think they did Super Fancy Battle Brawl, I want to say, Darkest Dungeon. There was a bunch of stuff, and they are kind of the poster child for how not to do Kickstarter. The most recent tragedy was the R6 Siege Kickstarter, which I covered in a video about a year ago. You can go and find them, the bait and the click videos. There's a whole other load of shit going on with them. Essentially, they were a fucking terrible fucking board game company. The R6 and the Darkest Dungeon, they essentially, after taking all the backers' money and producing the product, kind of turned around and said, give us more money or you don't get your game. That's pretty much what they did. I personally thought they were a bunch of shower shite hawks. I don't think they did a really great job. I think really they should have probably wrapped up shop before now. It has left people, I think there's at least 2 to 3 other games outstanding which they've taken funding for and never going to deliver now. I think Monster Apocalypse, and there was another one whose name escapes me at this minute in time. People I'm sure will be Hell, maybe, I think it was. There's a couple of other games that were picked up by Cool Mini who are going to eventually publish them, and I think people who backed will get something out of that, maybe. But it's left a lot of people down a lot of money. And that was that. I mean, it was coming. It was a matter of time. They were dead man walking. They did a lot of damage in between time, and frankly, they fuck them. And it's good to see them go. I just feel bad for the people that got absolutely stitched up throughout that, which is not nice. But there we go. Bye-bye Mythic. Finally we got there. As I said, you know, I didn't see that there was ever going to be an end to a happy ending, as it were, for this. But there we go. Mythic has finally given up. Kaput.
So long, farewell, I'll be the saying goodnight.
Other news of stuff going kaput. Luderati, the cafe up in Nottingham, has also closed its doors, shuttered its doors, citing, amongst other things, COVID loans and stuff, that rental loans and bits and pieces that went on during lockdown and COVID that they were still due that they couldn't pay. Never been to the thing myself. Back in the early days of it, I heard less than favourable things about Luderati. The owner of Luderati was also the designer of New Earth. Now, if you want some fun, go and Google designer of New Earth, Board Game Geek, and go down that rabbit hole there, because he was a character. So he was a strange character, and I definitely knew of people that worked in this cafe who did not have, let's just say, the most pleasant or happy time of what was going on. So you mileage my very. It's a shame to see a business go out of business, especially something like a board game cafe that people may have frequented, enjoyed. However, as I say, that is kind of undercut by the fact that the owner was somewhat of a dick. So there you go. Goodbye, Luderati Cafe. I knew you not well, but you've gone. Ta-ta. Resurgence turned up. Look at this. Fucking hell, finally. Thank you, Ignacy, for sending me a review copy of Resurgence. This is kind of it is a post-apocalyptic bag building game set, I think, in the new Hiroshima universe, or they've kind of co-opted it into there. This was originally kickstarted a couple of years back from designer Stan Kordonsky, who designed some other games that I now can't remember the names of, so I won't go into it. Let's do a quick kind of semi-unboxing of this. Obviously, there's a rulebook, and it's quite large print rulebook. It seems to get over the point of it. So the game is, you're essentially a game of you building your, in here you've all got your own little sort of bunker. So think Fallout shelters sort of thing. And the game starts a bit this War of Mine, and a lot of this areas are covered up by rubble that you need to uncover to give access to these rooms, and it's like a worker placement game. But you're doing the worker placementing from behind behind one of these. Donk. That sits there on the side of the board, and everyone has a bag related to their colour, and they are potting their character chits. So there's lots of like workers in here. There's your leader, there's some specialists, and then there's just some communal garden workers in there. Somewhere in here I've lost the boards. Oh, there they are. So yes, behind your this thing, this cardboard thing, will be this, and you'll have pull workers out of a bag, and then you'll place them into these three locations secretly behind there. And then these relate to areas on the map that you can go to and enact actions, which will be getting you resources and doing missions and picking other stuff up, and generally that. I mean, that's pretty much what's in the box. It's all kind of basic stuff. There's a couple of decks of cards, there's events, there's missions you can do. And it kind of, from skimming through the rule book and looking at it, it's kind of, as I say, it's got that Fallout-y vibe to it of you doing these missions and going out and getting more resources, as a building your compound, your bunker. And there's other bits going on. You can score points by depending how many guys you put down secretly in front of you. I don't know what this retail is. It launched at Essen this year. But I haven't played it yet. Hopefully I'm going to get a game in this weekend. Generally skimming through the rules, it seems relatively straightforward as such. Essentially what you're doing on your turn is you pull chits out of the bag of the workers you've got to play with that round. As I said, you secretly place them down on your board, hidden from the other players. Everyone reveals, depending who's got the most in those, will score additional points and move on a different track, and then you essentially use those workers where you've placed them to either go to the board to get you more resources and do more stuff, or do missions or things, or into your compound to either remove that rubble area, clear areas out to give you more actions on your player board to be able to do things. That's kind of it. And then you can do missions and stuff to pop more stuff in the bag or take stuff out of the bag. Yada, 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 yada. So yeah, I'm intrigued. It sounds kind of cool. It looks okay. I mean, there's nothing in there graphically blowing my brain. It doesn't look stunningly gorgeous. Like something like ARX has got a very much a thematically good vibe to it, and the art and design, it's really cool. Whereas this kind of is rudimentary, it feels like. It is doing what it needs to do to get you through the day. But the design looks solid enough. Obviously, Portal and Nazi saw something in it from the original design to go, well, we like that. As I say, I think they've kind of co-opted it into the new Hiroshima universe, although the mileage might vary. And obviously, it's all set in Russia, which is kind of like after post-apocalyptic, which, depending on your viewpoint, might actually be on the cards. So there we go. Resurgence. I will play a game of this potentially this weekend, I'm hoping maybe I'll get free player game in because Tony's away. So I've got just me, Robbie, and Jamie on the Sunday, tonight, this afternoon, today, tomorrow. So I might try and get a game of that in just to see how that works because. So that's Resurgence, which took a month to get to me. Thank you, fucking UPS. And that's it. I mean, I was going to speak about Halloween games. I haven't had a time to really do that. I did do a video a couple of years back of Halloween games. And to be fair to you, I don't believe a lot of other more Halloween-y type stuff has come out since. I mean, there's the Horrified games. There is the Halloween game, John Carpenter's Halloween game, which I kind of fancy grabbing at some point because it's John Carpenter Halloween game. There's Abomination, there's My Father's Work. They come to mind as like kind of that scary stuff. Mansions of Madness, any of the Cthulhu, you know, that style of game. Unfathomable maybe. There's definitely a mix of stuff out there. Actual horror related stuff, licensed stuff. There's less of it. As I said, there's Halloween. I know there's House of a Thousand Corpses coming, and a few other bits and pieces that I'm casting my brain around to think about. But that's what I've got at the moment. Oh, and Betrayal. Good old Betrayal. So there you go. I might drop a Halloween video post-Halloween just because that's how we roll, maybe. We'll see. What else? We've been watching some bits and pieces. Watched some scary movies, actually. Watched Little Monsters, not the 80s movie with Harry Mandel, but the Australian movie that came out some years later, which is kind of cool. I watched that with our house guests. That was my presentation to them. That was entertaining. There is also, I watched Annabelle last night, which is by Radio Silence, the guys who did Ready or Not. I found it was all right. I think number one, the trailers for that movie kind of ruined that movie. It's kind of like they should have played it a bit more like Dusk to Dawn, where you didn't really know what you were getting into. If you're not sure what you're getting into, don't watch the trailer for it. I thought it was okay. And that was kind of where I was. I was entertained, and it was bloodthirsty and blood and guts flying everywhere. But ultimately, I was kind of left going a bit, yeah. There's a lot of horrors coming out at the moment. There's a bunch of stuff. I haven't seen it all yet. I haven't seen Alien yet. Actually, the new Alien Romulus I want to see, but I think that drops on Disney Plus in a week or two. So I'm going to hold fire for that. Obviously, we had House Guest Monday, so we didn't watch any more Twin Peaks. So we've paused just at the end of the big reveal. So we'll be diving back into that in the week coming. I have been reading some books, but none of which come to mind what they are, so that's gone. And stuff. Just generally this week has been really, really fucking busy for me, and I'm a bit tired. But I thought I needed to get something recorded, so I'm here. Hello, everybody. We having fun? We playing games? What's going on? I was speaking about the last video, and there was some responses to that, and now I can't remember what they were. So I would respond to them. I think Robo Rally was one I'd mentioned and not gone dive into. Robo Rally, really good. I think it's reprinted. It's worth a shot if you've got a bunch of people that want to play programming robots and absolute carnage is going to erupt. Then fine. Again, you know, I think it's a good beer and pretzels game, Robo Rally. Although it can play long if there's a bunch of you playing in a bigger course. It kind of has danger of outstaying its welcome at the higher player counts on the bigger boards. But that's the thing. I don't know why I'm casting my eye over here like something is going to answer me, and I don't know what I was looking for, but it wasn't there. And that's it really. That's us, I think, for the moment. I'll just have a quick look here. Oh, Penguin. I've started watching Penguin as well, and that's pretty good. I've only watched a couple of episodes of that, but I'm actually quite enjoying how that is done as a TV show. And there you go. That's quite a lot of content. I've covered some stuff. Do with that what you will. Ultimately, what we got there. ARX I enjoyed. I enjoyed Lords of Vegas. Tiny Laser Heist I enjoyed. I don't think I'd get it, but it was enjoyable for the moment when we had it out. Resurgence we're going to look at. There you go. What have you lot been up to? Anything exciting? Living the dream? Doing some good shit? I don't know. I'd like to know. There you go. Here is this. This is the video. I'm now going to go and chill. And maybe I'll need to edit this at some point. So whenever this arrives, lucky you. And that's it, really. All right, ta-ta. Look after yourselves. Adios and goodbye. Until next time.